Hi everyone. I still don't have an intro, so we're just gonna jump right in. This video is supposed to be about small town secrets, but because I missed Inheritance, I'm gonna talk about the part that wouldn't have made me cry last time, but I just couldn't get there because depression was kicking my butt. I didn't want to talk about Jonah and Lorraine's grief, but like I do always want to talk about their exhibitionism because I had all this stuff to say about all the things I would have changed about from scratch, and some of the stuff I did change. But I have to be honest that like once I got past that like hurdle, which was a lot of it was mental, and I got past from scratch and I started like editing. The other books have been not necessarily a breeze. They have each had their own challenge, but none as difficult as that one. And in the case of Inheritance and Jonah and Lorraine, to be honest, it's such a short book that there was so much like left unsaid that it was almost like writing an entirely new novel around what existed to like flush out not just their own grief, but also like what their exhibitionism meant. And I hadn't forgotten that Jonah and Lorraine were just like making out and doing other stuff all over town, but I hadn't remembered how much of it there was. And then I got to write more, so that was also fun. But also as I was going through it, it was really interesting to like juxtapose like both of their grief journeys with their exhibitionism for two characters who are very much hiding themselves, like, and hiding their emotional scars. I hadn't really thought about it at the time because I don't plot, so most of this is like not accidental, but it comes to me as I'm drafting, and then in revisions is when I like sort of maybe make some of this closer, and I have gotten to that sort of that kind of writing process. But having that juxtaposition of like two characters who are very much like hiding from dealing with the pain they're feeling or have felt, and also being very public in their like sexual interest in one another was like really funny to write and really funny to expand on. And so I did just want to say that even though I missed the last episode. And also it was really lovely to like write Mary and Lorraine's friendship, sort of pump it up a little bit. It's there, but their friendship is like really important to like me and to the sort of kinds of stories about the town that are coming, actually. So it was really lovely to like write them like meeting one another and also like building this friendship based on town gossip and sweets. And then also to have Bria sort of living right sort of like at the peripheral of this story, knowing that like her book was coming next was also really lovely. And so let's deal with covers. And also, because I missed last week, I'm going to give you like a sneak peek, like the tamest sneak peek I can of some of the like relaunch goodies. And that is the cover art. I don't really know the angles on this, so like watch this be cut off and I have to do this again. But so this is the from scratch cover. You'll get these all as postcards depending on like what you order. We'll talk about it in a couple weeks. And then the one we missed last week was Inheritance. I so hope this angle is good. I don't have a secondary screen. And then for this week, we have the Small Town Secrets cover, and they're sharing a bagel, which, you know, I love it. So what were the like challenges with like Bria and Sully? First of all, they did not have enough sex. I remedied that. They did not have enough sex. That was my big issue. They did not have enough sex. But other than that, like this is a series that I just realized I'm writing adults. I mean, I didn't just realize, but I'm writing like, for the most part, like emotionally mature adults or people who want to be emotionally mature, people who want to like connect with other people, which is really lovely to write. But it does scratch a particular part of my brain, and this one scratches that part of like the sweetest, softest part of my brain that just wants to write characters who are in love and who are like supportive of one another and who are gentle with one another. And I think honestly I like reserve those stories to some extent to queer relationships, not like entirely. Like I write like romances where people are also like really like kind and gentle with one another. I think like Office Hours and like Sabbatical especially is that, and that series is that. But then there are like books like, you know, the Family series where, I mean, they're adults, but they're also like out here killing people or running away from their problems or whatever. And the Welcome to Seaport series is like a series of like adults who like have just, whether they have been through stuff or they feel sort of trapped in whatever their life was before, like Seaport is a place where like they get to like reinvent themselves. And this is kind of not quite that story, but it also is. In the first two books we have like Mary, Santos and Knox, and then Lorraine coming to Seaport and like needing to sort of get their bearings and like doing so in their relationship. But in this one, like we have Sully, who's been there before all the other transplants, and Bria, who is a born and raised Porty, who both of them are very subtle in their life there, but like the influx of transplants like sort of shakes up their world in like a really great way. I love like Bria and Mary's friendship as well, where like Bria like absolutely looks up to and adores Mary, but like she also sees Mary and Confections as like a way for her to have like a job but also like a life that she might not have had in Seaport, that she couldn't have envisioned in Seaport when she was little. And then Sully like very much sees Seaport maybe not as a place where she necessarily wants to start over, but where it sort of keeps her close to her friend who is essentially like her family. And so they find one another and have been waiting for one another in the sort of like small town like interactions that I love in this series, where they are sort of seeing one another like in this sort of scheduled deliveries from Confections to Sully's, or they're seeing one another like across the street in this like small town. And I love that. And then of course in the background of all that is the fact that there is a secret, and Bria is a secret baby. And again, that I don't think was the plan when I started writing this story. I don't remember, it's been many years, but I don't think that was the plan when I started writing this story. And I wasn't sure how I would feel about it when I went back, but I actually loved it, primarily because it gave us this window into like old Seaport, like family politics, like the sort of secrets in small towns, like the things your families don't say or don't tell you for whatever reason. And then also the sort of option you have to kind of view or to see your parents as people, and to allow them to be flawed in the way that like other people are, especially for Willie. Like she has to sort of deal with the little we see her on the page, she has to deal with the fact that the father who she knows and loves and who she really modeled her life, or at least her career after, like isn't quite the man she thought. And we'll obviously like sort of deal with that a little bit more in the next book, but it was so nice to like delve into small town politics in this series, with a little more rigor and with more sex. Even better. So I actually don't have like a lot of complaints about the things that I like had to change here or would have changed here. Although I had a reader contact me, I think earlier this year, who was like, hey, like when are these books coming back? Which was a fair question. And they were like, because I keep telling people to read these books because there's like a Depression era like speakeasy in this small southern town and or whatever. And I was like, there's a what? Like I had totally forgotten that it existed. And I'd also forgotten that I had planned to like write more about it in like a future book. So first of all, I can't remember the reader's name right at the top of my head, but you know who you are if you're watching this. You DM'd me, and I can see the voice part is I can see your PFP right now in my head, but I can't remember your name. But thank you for reminding me that old Mrs. Kemp has a speakeasy in her backyard. And thank you for loving that like random quirk that I, again, because I don't plot this, I was like, what was I doing that I thought of this. But I do actually love the Depression as like a moment in history. It's not a period that I study. It's just one that I enjoy learning more about, like as I teach or in documentaries. So, you know, I'm glad you all like would like come on this journey with me. It's random. But so there we are. So here's what I can say about Small Town Secrets and Inheritance. Actually, they're both longer books. Like every book has grown. And I think that, like I said, with From Scratch, the point here is to give you all like a fuller story, but also to lay the groundwork for a series I can continue writing in the future. I had like wanted to write Willie's book so much, and when I was revising Small Town Secrets, I was really excited again to go back into that document and make some notes, because there were things about like Seaport history and about like the Waltham family history that are like really important and that are sort of only hinted at in this new version of Small Town Secrets. But there are also so many plans for the series, like in the long run, that I wanted to set up with little Easter eggs. As much as I don't plot, there are things that I know that I want to write in future years and in future books. And so it was really lovely to like set them up here and know that I can come back to them. And when you get the new versions of the book, I hope that like that's a thing that you also enjoy doing. The other thing specifically is I so don't think I've written an FF story in a while. And this, I think, was my first. Yeah, I think so. It was nice to like write a Black FF story and to really think about like Black women getting to be tender with one another, but also playful with one another in their relationships and their friendships. And so I guess I don't have as much to say about like the things that I changed here, outside of the fact that like it was really like lovely to like what I read on the page still, even if I had all these things I wanted to change and all these things I wanted to revise, like just still like with each book, I'm just like, I'm realizing, as I told you all, like I get why you all are asking me about these books, because I'm excited to delve into them as a writer again. And there aren't, when I published this book, I did not find, which doesn't mean that they didn't exist, but just I did not find a lot of queer and racially diverse, primarily Black small town romances. And I wanted to write, and I think it comes across really clear for the first time in Small Town Secrets, I wanted to write a small town that had like elements of like Black history, elements of like American history, elements of like queer cultures and identities, and Black cultures and identities that like made room for all the people who are often just left out of these other series and stories. And I didn't want to do so in a way that felt like a lecture, like my job, like I was standing in front of a classroom. I wanted to do so from the standpoint of people who are just living their lives. And so Mary and Bria are just, you know, in the bakery, like hanging out, and Sully is making her coffee, and Mayor Waltham is having like a whole fit internally in her office. And then Santos and Knox are just like running around, just like, you know, making sure everything's okay. And then somewhere on the outskirts of Seaport, old Mrs. Camp is making gin. Like, it was so ridiculous, but in the best way. I would love to say that I was the kind of person who could write a rom-com. I cannot. But this is as close as I'll ever get with this series. Just being able to write sort of slightly silly characters who have like moments of seriousness and moments of like romanticness and just lightheartedness alongside like all the other realities of life. Like, it has been a lovely like adventure going back into these books. To be honest though, I have had to take breaks to write people killing people or beating other people or just whatever. Like, they're just so sweet. I needed to write someone who was not so sweet. So I think when I was like working on Small Town Secrets, I was also like plotting like a whole bunch of like mess that'll come out eventually, Lord knows. Okay, so I think that's my like update on Small Town Secrets. And so what's coming up next? So obviously the next video, and it is going to be a video, is going to be me talking about her Christmas cookie, which I know is it's a lot of people's like holiday favorite. It is mine as well. It is coming back. So we'll talk about the new cover, and we'll talk about like some of the changes that I have made, or just things that I like noticed about it as I was revising. And then also next week we'll start talking about what the relaunch is actually going to look like. I think. Yes. Probably. We'll see. All right, that's a great way to end. Thank you for watching, and hopefully you all are excited for these cover reveals, and also are excited to very soon, very quickly, find out about the relaunch itself. All right, bye.